Welcome to the Germinate Podcast, where agriculture, business, and innovation take root and thrive. I'm Joe Sampson, and with nearly 2 decades of experience in agricultural equipment and scaling businesses, I'm here to bring you actionable insights, inspiring stories, and strategic advice. Whether you're an industry veteran or just starting out, this podcast is your guide to cultivating ideas, expanding your knowledge, and growing your venture. So let's get started and germinate your path to success. This episode is brought to you by Haven Steel, one of the newest supporters we have here on the Germinate Podcast, and we couldn't be more grateful to have them on board. They are specialty heat treaters who've mastered the art of steel form products built to last longer and deliver the kind of durability manufacturers depend on. They support businesses throughout the globe with American-made reliability, but really here's what I appreciate the most about Haven. They're genuinely great people first. Owner Ken Brown and his team carry a purpose and a drive that's rare in today's business world. They don't just work hard on their 2 plants in Haven, Kansas and McKinsey, Tennessee. They care. They put their customers first, they show up when it matters, and they stand behind every product they manufacture. So if you manufacture agricultural equipment or distribute heat-treated components, Haven Steel is the only name you need to call. And I'll say this, Haven Steel is up to something special. They are investing, expanding, and stepping into a new chapter that's going to get this industry's attention. So stay tuned, everyone. Keep your eye on Haven Steel and learn more at havensteel.com, havensteel.com. Welcome to the Germinate Podcast, everybody. Jumping right into this one. Thank you once again for joining us for another episode. I think, like I said, we're up to about 60 here or so. Somebody will fact check me. They'll be like, no, that was only 59 or that's 61, but we're getting close to that. So amazing if I really think about how far we've come and super proud of that. I couldn't have done that without you, the audience. So I'll say it silly enough because it always feels weird to me, but subscribe to the YouTube channel. That really does help us continue to build an audience and continue to be able to do this. Click that subscribe button so you don't miss any of this fun content. Also, follow us on Spotify and Apple and all the podcast platforms as well. That also helps. So do those things for us. That would be great for you. And we'll keep bringing you really cool episodes of trying to help you out in the business world, specifically as it relates to agriculture. But as you guys know that have been following us, we're kind of going all over the place here and just trying to figure out where life is heading. It's a weird place that we're all living in these days. So it's all moving in a direction, and we're here to provide as much advice for that as possible. Also, shout out to the Farm Equipment Manufacturers Association. March 24th through the 26th is the Supply Summit and Showcase in San Antonio, Texas. In fact, we have one of the special featured guests in San Antonio on the episode today. But yeah, go to farmequip.org to sign up for the Supply Summit and Showcase March 24th through the 26th. FEMA is a great organization filled with passionate people that really understand the industry and the trends and where things are going. And you don't want to miss it. So here's your nudge. Get on the website, sign up for that. Registration's open right now. So also shout out to Haven Steel, GBGI, and Magrotech. You guys are great partners with this podcast. Cannot thank you enough for being partners with me and with the Germinate crew here. So appreciate y'all, and shout out to them. Your listen as the episode goes, and your commercials will be in there. And if you're looking to sponsor, reach out to us on the website, mbosales.com. Okay. AI. How many podcasts are there about AI? Millions, right? But this one's a little different because, number one, we're going to take a little bit of a different approach to AI. And Zac Engler, you and I were just talking. First of all, welcome aboard, Zac. Appreciate you.
Thanks so much for having me, Joe. I appreciate being here. I was excited to chat.
Yeah, me too. And we were just talking before the episode, like what angle and whatnot we want to go. And you mentioned that you're in the process of writing an article right now, kind of about well, I'll let you unpack this and unveil this. So go ahead.
Yeah, for sure. So working on a piece about the AI acceleration gap that's happening right now in the workforce, not just in the US, but around the world. My focus will be on the US, of course. But it's this idea that basically AI is, to some degree, serving as an accelerant for people looking to learn more, looking to do more in their jobs, in their work. And what we're seeing is that right now, some preliminary studies have been done by universities that are showing people who are adopting and adapting AI tools into their work are on average making anywhere from 20 to 40% more than non-AI users.
Hmm.
And if we look at the capabilities of those folks and kind of think forward here for the next year or two, you know, those people are sometimes moving from maybe the bottom 25, 35% of performance up into the 80th percent of performance. Um,
Wow.
there's a really good case study of a sales group of sales folks. 1,000 sales folks were given access to ChatGPT. Another 1,000 were not. And after a few months, the bottom tier sales performers using ChatGPT rose up to be essentially B plus players in the top 80th percentile of the group. And they weren't doing anything magical. They just had access to a large language model that was helping them get better at their job. And we're seeing that now kind of play out across the board. And so I tend to like then have a future focus, as
Yeah.
it's
Right.
what I
Right.
do in my book and it's what I do just kind of in my job and think about like, okay, so where does that take us then? If
Yeah.
those people continue to get more efficient or accelerate faster, what happens when that gap gets so wide that the people who haven't adopted AI literally, can't keep up or are so far behind that, things end up being a negative impact for them in their careers. And that's something I think we need to seriously address and think about.
Interesting. So you mentioned you wrote a book and, this is what you do. So before we go too much deeper, talk about kind of your background and your super, super intriguing and interesting. That's crazy numbers, by the way. My gosh.
Yeah.
But you're an expert at this. This is not just something you dabble in. This is what you do on a day-to-day basis, right? So, and I think
Yeah.
you said you've even written a couple of books, but give us, for those that don't know you, give us a little bit of a, uh, here's Zach and what you do and your company does.
Yeah, for sure. So, I've oversee AI for C4 Tech Services. We're a consultancy based out of Minnesota. I'm the chief AI officer there. We roll out AI training, AI strategy for executives, and custom AI solutions. We work with Fortune 500 companies to help them figure out how do they mitigate that acceleration gap? How do they
Mhm.
train their teams on the use of AI? Things like Copilot, ChatGPT, Claude, Gemini, you name it. I live and breathe it. And my background is I have 15 years of HR training and development, recruitment experience. So I'm basically taking everything I learned earlier in my career of how to create sustainable training programs, how to engage teams with effective leadership, and marrying that with my passion and love for AI and folding all of that together into training programs to help get your teams up to speed. Beyond that, we also look at where AI is going, how things are developing, and we provide executive consulting for leadership teams and C-suites to figure out how do they start taking action immediately to safely, securely, and sustainably fold AI into their workflows. And then lastly, when there's the need for a custom AI solution, this could be perhaps it's a customer facing chatbot, perhaps it's an internal tool that helps your teams coalesce and organize information. We help develop those systems as well.
It's all efficiency, right? I mean, that's kind of how I look at AI. It's sort of, you hear a lot of conversations about AI. Well, Um, why are we so scared of it? We're not still using horses to plow a field. We have tractors nowadays, and it's similar technology. Technology is technology.
Hmm.
Although this one feels a little different because it is moving at such a rapid pace. And I mean, dude, in 2022, I had no idea what ChatGPT was. And then in
Hmm.
2026, I mean, really, we just started 26. So what are we talking? 3 years later, 3.5 years later, it's like taking over the world, along with
Hmm.
Claude and Gemini and Copilot and Grok and all the other ones. So this technology is moving at such a rapid pace. It's hard to stay on top of like what the next thing is and how do you best what's the best practice on how to utilize it? You know what I mean? Versus just having it write emails.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a great question. What we've found over the last 2 years of this accelerating development is number one, it's just going to get faster. So
Right.
buckle up, and we can talk about that if you want to unpack that.
Sure.
Um, Number two, don't fall victim to what I call AI shiny object syndrome.
Okay.
Because there's like a new AI tool coming out basically every day at this point. Like you can easily get lost in creating hundreds of different accounts and trying out new things. What we've seen in the last 2 years, though, is that anything that's of actual value, any new system or coding tool or you name it, eventually gets picked up by one of the big five. Um,
Okay.
the big five being, OpenAI with ChatGPT,
Okay.
Anthropic with Claude, Microsoft with Copilot, Google with Gemini, or the fifth one is kind of the wild card. I personally love it the most. It's Perplexity.
Oh
They've
yeah.
been doing some amazing work as well. And all of these top five firms usually end up folding in these really unique kind of crop up startup AI tools once they are proven in the marketplace. So if you can hold off on that shiny object syndrome for 2-3 months, usually those things get folded in pretty quickly, and even that is also accelerating. I mean, I saw a video the other day of a guy who's now growing plants using his Claude and a camera, and he's like hooked up some robotic watering systems,
Jeez.
and he's
Yeah.
got like this plant just growing, and Claude's
Yeah.
taking care of it for him. Like it's
Yeah.
crazy.
It's nuts, and I mean, the first question I asked ChatGPT was like, "What should I order from this restaurant?" And it was cool. It was neat. I'm not saying that's not a cool thing. It's like get the whatever, get the Reuben because it gets great reviews, and some celebrity ate it and said it was the best thing ever. So it's like, okay, I'll get the Reuben. I guess and it's something
Yeah.
that Google can do that, but it would have taken like a couple hours for me to find that answer where it gave it to me in 2 seconds.
Hmm.
To where now we're at a spot where AI is I mean, the sky is the limit, right? So when businesses hire specifically, like I look into let's talk about manufacturing. This is the sector that's gonna probably be most interested in this is, okay, you have all this data. It's already there.
Hmm.
How do you look through it? How do you extrapolate it? How do you gain a trend or see we've all been taught to create a vision for your business or create this 5-year plan for your business. But if you don't have any real data to back it up, well, then you're just kind of guessing, right? I mean, there's
Yeah.
no real, you can use AI now to create a real strategy that can actually work and you can actually learn to execute.
Yep.
I don't have a question really in there, but I'm just interested in your comment on, you know, yes, this is where AI can go, especially as it relates to the manufacturing sector, and what is
Yeah.
it that this data can do for all of you, you know? I'm sure there's some cool things in there that you can kinda tell everybody about.
For sure. Yeah, I think on the manufacturing side, like the low hanging fruit are things that happen in the shop. So, predictive
Sure.
maintenance is one of those areas where,
Yep.
again, now maybe you used to have a very complex video system or electronic sort of feedback system to give you your predictive maintenance. And now, just like the guy growing his plant with Claude, if you get a video on your factory, for example, and you input all the different tools and things that are running, like AI can essentially look at everything, start running calculations on how many products you're cranking out, which means how long that particular machine's been running, which means how many cycles it's done, which means, oh, you should probably go, put some grease on that thing in 2 weeks, or oh, that
Sure.
thing's, stamping machine has now cranked out 50,000 items. It's probably due for a quality check or something like that.
Yep.
That
Yep.
idea that um, generative AI can really help collapse a lot of the complex RPA and machine learning systems that were set up in the last decade and make things just a lot more easy to interact with and easy to report on. And there's obvious caveats there for certain safety requirements and lockout takeout requirements and things like that on certain factory floors. But for the most part, thinking in terms of like, how do we simplify everything now? And how do we use AI, generative AI, as a way to collapse our costs and collapse the time it takes for us to do certain things? And my focus has really been on like the administrative side and the office operations side.
Mhm.
Um, but it really can go all the way out into the field as well.
You keep talking about generative AI. What do you mean by that?
So that would be like our any and all large language models that you work with.
Okay,
So
got it.
Claude,
Got it.
ChatGPT, Perplexity, all those ones that I mentioned earlier, the big five. Essentially, what they're doing is, they're trained on a bunch of information, and then they're fine tuned by the company, and then once they're out in the wild, they can help you pretty much with any task to some degree at this point. Even if they don't have direct line of sight to that. So one example of this could be, if you know the model of a floor machine that you're using, a bandsaw, a skill saw, table saw,
Sure.
whatever, right? You plug that in, it'll tell you like, oh, according to my information, that thing can run for this amount of time before you need to do any maintenance.
Right.
And have you done that, right?
Yeah.
So it's like trying to pare back and simplify things to that back and forth interaction can definitely make your safety assessments or your quality assessments a lot faster, a lot smoother.
And you said primarily your organization is hired for the kind of the office side of things on the manufacturing floor. So you have an HR background, I guess, if you will. You said
Correct.
you spent however many years in HR. And your thoughts on, I guess, some of the early adopters of AI. I mean, obviously, one of the biggest key factors here is it gives you a huge ROI. I mean, you talked about those percentages early on, but things that can be utilized in some of these office packages. I'm guessing trainings and SOPs and other processes that you could put in place. I mean, is
Yeah.
even simple things like handbooks and whatever
Hmm.
else. I mean, all these things used to take, you'd go to an HR team and be like, "Guess what? We need to update our employee handbook." They'd be like, "Oh my gosh, this is gonna take me months." Yeah, yeah.
That I'll be addressing that in my talk at the FEMA conference. Actually, I'm going to do a breakdown of a handful of things that you could do across marketing, sales, operations, HR,
Perfect. Yeah.
customer service, etc. So if you're interested in how that could look for your business, definitely attend the talk. But at a high level, I just last week I did a talk for an HR manufacturing group here in the Twin Cities,
Mhm.
Minnesota, and I wanted to showcase just how powerful some of these AI tools are now. So I opened up Perplexity's Comet. I opened up a few tabs of the different tools I wanted it to use, and I gave it an instruction to go research something.
Okay.
Um, I asked who in the group had a training that they had to do. And this one HR person chimed in with uh, she needed to talk to her team about cable assemblies for airplane cockpits, and
Okay.
she needed a training on that. So I said, "Okay, tell me a little bit about that training." I hit the speech button on the browser, and it just started recording everything she said. I then, when she was done, I hit return, and it went off and it researched that topic and came up with a 5-module training
Oh my
program
gosh.
for that particular topic. Then it went over to another AI tool to create the slide deck for that
Yep. Oh
particular
my god.
topic. And then it went over to another AI tool I had plugged in, and it created a podcast and a video overview, all generated by AI. So when we talk about generative AI and the powers and capability it has, while it was doing all of that, the woman asked, like, "Oh, like, tell me a little bit about how you're going to build this or what this is going to look like." And it was done building everything for like a
It was
multimodal training system
jeez.
by the time she
Crazy.
was done with her question. Like,
Wow.
that's the
Yeah.
level of power we're talking about here, and that's just one use case for this stuff.
Yeah, I mean, that's a great example, especially all the different plugins. It's like, yeah, you can have a slide deck, and now you can have a proposal written, and now you can have a SOP written, and whatever
Mhm.
the case may be. Are you a proponent for multiple large language models, or do you like to have companies stick with one or two? What's your thought process there?
Yeah, usually the bigger the company, the more it makes sense to stick with one. Model as kind of a blanket tool for everybody. However, there are different caveats where, maybe you have a software development team, you want to get them Claude, or maybe
Mhm.
you have a sales team, you want to get them Perplexity, right. So like there are certain
Yeah,
use
yeah.
cases where other models make sense. For the most part, though, picking one and sticking with it is definitely, I would say, what makes financial sense in the long run. Um, as kind of that macro approach for big companies. For smaller companies, I think you can get away with being a little bit more nimble, if you use Google as like your email and your productivity platform. Gemini is more than sufficient, and you can get pretty much everything done there. But then for those one-off use cases, you may want to explore other capabilities. But for sure, just kind of like I said at the beginning, don't get shiny object syndrome. Try to
Yeah. Right. Right.
stick with one, because eventually it'll be able to do everything that all the others can do as well.
You brought up Perplexity a couple of times. I've heard of it. I've actually never
Yeah.
used the platform in my life. I know Rogan uses it on his platform or on his podcast all the time, but why are you intrigued with Perplexity?
It definitely supersedes the capabilities when it comes to search and finance. So, oftentimes I'll run deep research on a prospective client. Um,
Okay.
I wanna learn more about that client, their market, their competition, what their
Sure.
challenges they're facing, and I'll go to ChatGPT and I'll ask it to run deep research, and it's fairly decent. But if I take that over to Perplexity and I say, "Hey, fact check all this," there's certain areas where if ChatGPT doesn't know something, it'll hallucinate and give you an answer that's not accurate or maybe out of date, and Perplexity often catches that.
Huh. Interesting. Okay.
So from a search perspective in general as well, it just, in my opinion, does a lot better job with real-time data, with, all of that. So I honestly, I think I've used Google, to, like, Google something maybe twice in the last 6 months at this point.
Yeah.
Another unique use case is, if you're hiring people, maybe you have a LinkedIn profile. If you have the Perplexity app on your phone, you can literally just, like, share the profile to the app and say, like, "Tell me about this person. Are they
Yeah.
legit? Like, what are
Yeah.
their skills?" And you can just start having that conversation, um, and get your information that much more quickly.
It's an interest I'm gonna check it out after this call for sure and just see because I've been intrigued by it. I'm intrigued by all of them, and I like to do what you just said. Like, if I do some research on a company, I like to research in 3 or 4 different ones to see if I can find either an error or something different. Or, maybe it'll give it to me in a totally different way. So I'm gonna check out Perplexity. It sounds like a very good tool, specifically as if you're a sales-minded person where, you want some of that deep research and make you sound a little bit
Absolutely.
more intelligent, in the world. So interesting on Perplexity.
If you really wanna add some firepower to your prompts, there's this idea of meta prompting. So
Okay.
write out your prompt of, you know, I got this company. I want you to do a market
Yep.
analysis.
Yep.
Give me a McKinsey style report, right?
Yeah. Right. Right.
Maybe you say those three things. But then at the bottom, write in an extra sentence and just say, evaluate this prompt. Give me 10 ways I could improve it and then
Oh my
redraft it with
gosh.
your suggestions, right? Then you
Wow.
get back a whole new prompt that's like a
Yeah.
much more detailed research prompt. Then you could do that again and again if you really wanted to, right?
Yeah. Right.
You
Right.
don't wanna do it too much, but I'd say 2 passes is probably good. Now you're talking about a really in-depth, solid prompt to work, and then you use the deep research feature, and it'll go give you a 40-page report of deep dive market analysis on whatever prospect you're going after. Um, I did this for one of my prospective clients,
Hmm.
last year, and they said, you know, based on the report that I gave them, they would have paid $200,000 to $300,000 for that,
Oh my gosh.
in prior years for that level of in-depth review. So with that skill set of, meta prompting and the tools of generative AI, you can do some pretty amazing things these days.
You can, and I love the idea of prompting is an interesting premise because it's one thing to ask ChatGPT or one of these large language models, what should I eat at this restaurant for, that's going to give me I really like this flavor and it'll give you a great answer. But prompting is what's really key and really taken off these days. I'm guessing that's what
Yeah,
you do a lot of the training on. You brought it up, so I'll ask, what are some of the best ways to not to prompt, but to learn how to prompt? I'm guessing team up with businesses like you because that's the name of this AI game, everybody listening, is the prompting and what to ask it,
yeah,
and how to ask the right questions.
yeah, absolutely. There's a recent study done, on prompting, and if you give it AI a junior high level prompt, you'll get a junior high level answer. If you
Okay.
give it a PhD level prompt, it'll give you a PhD level answer. So
Sure.
that's why I wanted to give you that little nugget of meta prompting. If you can use AI to make your prompts better,
Yeah.
already you're going to get better outcomes. So we talk about that in the trainings that we do. The funny thing about a lot of my trainings is I'm not actually talking about the AI all that much. I mean, I do throughout the training, but there's a whole new way to structure the way you work and a whole new way to interact with these systems to make your work velocity go a lot faster. And that's actually what I really try to lay the groundwork in our training sessions on of, you know, first and foremost, yes, you need to understand what you should and shouldn't be putting into these things. You need to
Yeah.
understand how to talk to them in an effective way to get what you want. But at the end of the day, it's really other parts of your business that the AI needs to know about to perform better. So that's things like, documenting what is your workflow to get from point A to point B in a task,
Yeah.
or what is your standard operating procedure in order to accomplish something in your business. And
Yeah.
the more that companies can capture that information and get it documented and digitized, the more effective your AI launch will be. And it also makes it a lot easier for people to start adopting the AI tools because they'll ultimately perform better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and if you put workflows and SOPs in there, you're going to be able to find bottlenecks and trends. You
Yeah.
might be chasing you might think you have a bottleneck in your company, but the reality of it is that's not the right thing to prioritize right now. You need to go fix 2 or 3 steps ahead of that first, and you don't
Yep.
really realize that until, you got a bunch of engines working. I call it horsepower. It's just like you've got the engine. All of us have these great engines. You're just kinda adding horsepower to it and optimizing it to the best possible way, and so, yeah, I love the idea of don't be afraid to throw some even things in there, you're like, "Well, why would it make sense for me to put workflow into an AI?" It's like,
Mhm.
well, do you wanna find a bottleneck or a trend, or do you need to know where to hire or maybe where not to hire? And, I love that idea. I think that's a great call. Never thought of it that way at all, but it totally makes sense to me. Yeah, 100%.
And yeah, it doesn't have to be complex either. I mean, we found I did over 50 AI trainings last year, and
Okay.
with just 3 things, we found, the average user got about a 30% productivity boost out of
Hmm.
using these things.
Mhm.
Um, the worst case scenario, 10% productivity, which means your worst performers will have 4 hours back per week.
Right.
Um, in the best case scenario, the people who are, like, really hungry and dove in and started building some amazing things, they saw 80% productivity boosts. Um, but the average, like I said, was about 36%, and they just needed 3 things. So number 1, they need access to a large language model,
Yep.
so ChatGPT, Perplexity, Copilot, Claude, Gemini, whatever. Um, number 2, they need the ability to transcribe their meetings. So, uh, whether that's, phone calls to clients, internal meetings, whatever, like, just get the transcription because 'cause that'll help serve as context for whatever you're working on. And then number 3 is the part where I come in, and that's the solid prompting techniques and the ability to communicate and work with the tools effectively. So, those 3 things, and you're off and running with
Yeah.
30% productivity gains across the board, regardless of if it's your marketing team, your sales team, your ops team, your HR team, like, everybody that's doing knowledge work benefits from these tools.
Yeah, I mean, 100%, and I just look back on my life pre-AI. This new version of myself can, like, 10x the speed of the guy that didn't have any of these tools before,
Yeah.
and it's amazing the amount of adoption and really all the new things that I'm learning each and every day too on how to even create complex forms and do complex research and all these things that are, relatively new and exciting in our world, and it's like, "Oh my gosh, this is great how different it kind of updates and changes." Hey, folks, let's pause the podcast for a second to talk about one of the companies making the Germinate podcast possible. Want to give a huge thanks to GBGI. Here's Mark Adams.
Thanks, Joe. At our shop in Chardon, Ohio, every part we build is made with precision. From the CNC machining to the final inspection, we don't rush because we know your customers can't afford failure. If you're a dealer or OEM who wants reliability built in, give us a look. GBGI, built to spec, built to last. Learn more at gbgiusa.com. GBGI, grow with us.
A exciting partner that we just brought on board. I don't partner with those that I don't believe in. And FEMA is a network that I've been a part of for almost 20 years, over 20 years, actually. And this episode is powered by the Farm Equipment Manufacturers Association. FEMA connects the entire ag equipment ecosystem, not just manufacturers and suppliers, but a wide range of partners who help this industry run, grow, and evolve. In today's world, building farm equipment takes a heck of a lot more than steel, tooling, and production lines. It takes the people and companies who support manufacturers and suppliers behind the scenes, the problem solvers, innovators, creators, integrators, service partners, all you strategic thinkers who help businesses operate smarter, communicate better, and push this industry forward. So whether you build equipment, support the people who build it, or you're a company that wants to plug into the industry in a meaningful way, FEMA is the network to do that. It opens doors. It's where relationships become opportunities, where collaboration creates momentum, and where the future of our industry is being shaped. So if you want to be part of FEMA, reach out to me or reach out to farmequip.org, FARMEQUIP.org, and connect with manufacturers and partners driving agriculture forward. FEMA, where the whole industry connects, grows, and moves together. www.farmequip.org. What's your take on there's certain aspects of every business where AI probably doesn't make sense, where you still want to kind of have some of that, I don't know, human to human nimbleness or flexibility. I'm guessing you get into a little of that as well, where it's like, I know you want this to be AI, but this isn't the right spot for it.
Totally. And I talk about that in my book as well.
Okay.
So there's a Forbes article that I wrote last year called "The Trifurcation of Work," and it's like I try to give like big kind of macro views of how do you just break things up into 3 chunks, look at your business through this lens, and then you can get into the details after that. But
Right.
if you look at it these 3 ways, I think that helps a lot of people pick apart what they can do and can't do with AI. So part 1 of the trifurcation is, what are the things that AI could do 100% fully autonomous, minimal checks and balances, because it's easy for the AI to do. You've tested it, it works, right?
Sure.
This could be thing like answering FAQ questions in a chat bot. This could be things like reviewing meeting transcriptions or things like that, like low level stuff, low risk. The next piece of the trifurcation is AI with human in the loop. This is things where AI can do a bunch of stuff, but you probably want a human to fact check it or validate it before it goes out to the real world.
Sure.
You probably heard about the car company that rolled out a customer service AI that started giving people like 100% discounts or 90% discounts.
No, I didn't.
Oh yeah. Yeah,
It's
people were
crazy.
offering to buy cars for $1, and it was, saying sure, so
Of course. Yeah.
you definitely want a human in the loop for things involving, money or big, company impact type interactions. The last piece of the trifurcation is human only work. And it's either because AI can't do it or AI shouldn't do it.
Yeah.
What I
Right.
mean by that is, there's certain tasks and things that AI is just not good at yet, especially generative AI. There's certain things that people don't want to interact with AI on, right?
Yeah.
So even though you could have a pretty cool virtual sales bot that can even have like a virtual avatar and talk to you, at the end of the day, people still like that relationship. And we've seen time and time again, companies try to roll out chat bots or AI tools only to then hire back a bunch of the people that they laid off because people want to talk to people. So figuring out what that balance looks like for every company is a little different based on what you do. But if you can nail down like those 3 big buckets, I think that lends a lot of focus on how you can make your business aligned to AI better and more efficient.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I told this story in, in another AI conversation, but I recently we paid off a car, and it was through a credit union here in town. I'm not gonna name the name, but I I never received, or it was all paid off, got the title, and then I got another bill, like another invoice from them, said I still owed them like a remaining scrap of money. And I was like, huh, what's this? I thought I got the payout number, right? And called the credit union and got like an AI chat box. And like I could not talk to someone. And all I
Wow.
wanted to do was talk to someone.
Yeah.
And it was super frustrating. I was like, "Oh my god, I just wanna talk to Paul or Shirley or Larry or David, or give me a name, and let's get this taken care of." But they were like, "You gotta go online." And of course, I couldn't get logged in on the website. It was this whole thing. Converse that to Godfather's Pizza in town here. I don't know if you guys have Godfathers in Minnesota, do you? Okay. You ever
We
call
did. I don't know if we still
Oh, you don't
do.
have them anymore. Okay.
I
Well,
remember
Friday
them back
nights
in the day.
yeah, it's good pizza.
Yeah.
If you wanna sponsor the show, Godfathers, reach out. That said, I love the pizza. Friday nights, we typically eat nacho. Well, that's our cheat days in our household. So you call Godfathers nowadays, and it's totally AI. It says, "Hey, Joe," knows your name. If you've called it once, because it has your phone number. "Hey, Joe, last
Mhm.
time you ordered a pepperoni pizza and a friggin' taco pizza and whatever else. Do you want to place that same order?" I'm like, "You know what? Yes, I do. Yes." And it says, "Okay, just to confirm, here's your order. Do you wanna add, something else?" "Yeah, maybe, I think I do." "Okay, your total's this. That'll be ready for do you want delivery or carry out?" "It'll be ready in 20 minutes." Hangs up. Super quick. And I'm like, "That's awesome." I don't wanna talk to Shirley, Bob, Larry, or David in that situation. I just want my pizza, and I want it fast.
Yeah.
So the whole point is money, I need to talk to somebody. But a pizza, let's use our metaphors properly here. But the point
Totally.
being is there's certain things that it really does. It's like Godfathers doesn't need to have somebody answering that phone. Just make as many pizzas as possible and get them
That's
to
right.
people as fast as you can.
Hire more chefs, right?
Yeah, right, right. But when you're dealing with people with money, it's like, hang on a second. It's a little bit different. It's okay to have a conversation still with Larry, David, Shirley, or whatever, any
Yeah.
name you can imagine. So I think that's kinda what you were mentioning. It's
That's
similar, but
exactly it, and
yeah,
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 exactly, and you break that out for, manufacturing groups or farm equipment groups or whatever it may be, and the same rules apply. You just have to look at the business through that lens and figure out, like, hey, maybe the thing that could chop off people's arms shouldn't be AI
right,
only. Maybe
right,
the thing, where there's minimal human like, people weren't born to copy things from a spreadsheet to a CRM system, so, like, maybe that's okay for the AI to do. Um,
yeah. Well,
yeah.
and even CRM systems, I don't know, you tell me, but are they becoming like a thing of the past now with AI? I mean, a lot of
Yeah.
them are AI generated, but it's like CRMs just came out in my lifetime. I'm gonna say like 10 years or so ago, and everybody's heard of Salesforce and all these ones, but now it's kinda like, yeah, they have some AI built in, but I don't even know if you need them anymore. I really don't. I could be off here, but
No, 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 you're 100% on, and in fact, uh, let's see, January, we had a new sales leader start at our organization. He
Uh-huh.
had a a point of view on how sales should be operated and run for our business. We sat down for an hour and a half and talked about it. I recorded the conversation,
Yeah.
with the transcription tool. He then gave me a full, 42-page PowerPoint deck on his sales approach and philosophy. I plugged all that into Claude and I said, "Hey, we need a Kanban style CRM system that emulates this and walks our sales team through how to leverage these tools. And anytime they get into, a place where they're stuck, there should be an AI, interaction that can help populate answers or give them insights and things like that." And in about, I don't know, 2.5 days, I had a working demo, and I was probably being slow because I was traveling to Hawaii for a vacation and
Yeah,
like
right.
was kind of doing things intermittently when I couldn't sleep. But it took me 3 days and I had a working CRM. Um, Now again, my background is HR. I am not a developer. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take that vibe coded tool and hand it off to our actual software development team. And they're going to, take that further. But it's this idea that like you can go from zero to finished, highly tailored CRM to your own business and what you're trying to do and accomplish in 3 days is pretty amazing. And I think that's where when you look at the stock market right now, SaaS has been taking a pounding. Any software as a service has been completely, obliterated the last few weeks because people are waking up to this idea that the AI can just make that for you. Now, where you could get yourself in trouble is the maintenance and the support and the
Uh-huh.
ongoing, that's what companies like Salesforce do so well is, they help you troubleshoot, they help work through difficult situations. So you got to be mindful of that internally. But that idea that you could have your own kind of custom tailored CRM, like totally plausible at this point. And we'll probably see that accelerate over the next year or two.
And you say custom tailored, and I think that's the key feature.
Yeah.
Salesforce is not a custom platform. It's this
No, you got to
giant
do what they
thing.
want you to do. Yeah.
Exactly, exactly. And that might not be the goal and expectation of your business. It might be something a little bit different. I
Yeah.
mean, you might have different personnel, so you've got to tweak it, and that's the biggest challenge with implementing these things like CRMs and even ERP systems. It's like you buy their platform and you kinda have to incorporate your business into it, and it's like, "No, no, no,
Yep.
you wanna do the exact opposite. This is my unique thing, and you need to
Yeah.
work with me." Well, that's AI. That's what it does for you. You just gotta know how to ask it all those right questions, and to your point, you're taking it so much deeper to where you can now take it to your development team, and you can provide an actual totally, personalized CRM for Bob's Burger Palace or whatever the name of the company is that's specific for them and them only, and you can do it in about 3 days versus, most of these take 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 months, and
Yep.
that's quick. That's
Right.
fast.
Right.
So, yeah, the game is changing, man. The game is definitely changing.
I was gonna say that was with me doing it. What's gonna happen, I think, in the next year is that the AI itself will just do it, right?
Yeah,
So,
I believe you. I agree.
and then 2027, like, I think all bets are off at that point. I think we're gonna have AI systems moving so fast at that point that humans will struggle to keep up, and,
Mhm.
that's actually why I'm encouraging businesses now to develop your own internal AI agent that can analyze your business and review your business and give you insights and information because a year from now, if you're still trying to do it manually, it's going to be really hard to keep up. And in some businesses, that might be fine. Like
Yeah.
they might have big enough moats to shield them from some of the AI um, change that we'll say is coming. And
Yeah.
but eventually, like even their competition will pick up these tools and start using them, and then by that point, it's too late.
Well, it doesn't take much to implement I look back on my first prompt. I've told this story now 3 times in this podcast, but the restaurant thing.
Yeah.
And then I remember I was looking, I had a giant report. I was looking at the demographics of my city for, a certain type of business that was gonna open up, in this neighborhood, and it needed this household income and this. I threw that giant, like, 60-page PDF into AI, and it spit out these awesome results to me, and I was like, "Oh, wait a minute here. This is way more than just asking a favorite sandwich topic. This can
Yeah.
do so many things." And then what's the next thing and the next thing? And to your point, it's learning so fast now, and there's so many really, really great, cool, interesting things that you have to adapt it because someone's going to do it. It doesn't take
Mhm.
much to adapt it. It just takes that first initial, "Let's plug this in and see what happens," type of thing. So
Yeah.
stay on top of it is your sort of message there.
Stay on top of it. Get somebody. The best case I can share with folks is this idea. If your company is larger than 50 people, like you should definitely have an AI champion at this point. You should have somebody who can kind of be that focal point of any new tools or capabilities or things like that. Like that person is kind of the subject matter expert. If you're bigger than 100 people, you probably need a team or a center of excellence, we call it at this point, centered around AI. And what they're going to do is they're, instead of waiting for your executive team to greenlight, like,
Mhm.
hey, let's review everything and discuss it as a committee and come up with a plan and then roll that
Yeah.
out, like that's going to take way too long. On the other side of things, if you try to let everybody just figure it out on their own, like that's going to be a complete mess. So if you can get this, center of excellence together, or at least a subject matter expert to be that kind of spearhead for your business, figure out what tools work, what tools don't, what makes sense. And then they have a middle out communication, right? So they communicate up to the executives, they communicate out to the teams. That approach has been much more effective than trying to put all the weight on either your leadership or your staff. So for what that's worth. A little free consulting advice there.
That's great. Let's close out on the scariness factor of all this.
Yeah.
And there definitely is some. I mean, uh, I just had a conversation with some lawyers the other day, and I was just in 2 days worth of insurance meetings, like P&C and work comp type insurance. And
Sure.
everybody's becoming we've lived in a generation now, or a couple of generations, where everybody's become experts. I mean, gone are the days of sitting around at a bar with your buddies and trying to remember who won the 1985 World Series. We just now go to our phone and be like, it was I'm going to throw it. It
Right.
was the Boston. It was somebody. It was the New York Yankees. Uh, to now we're all little humanoid experts at everything. It's annoying for one. I kind of think that's annoying that everybody has the answers. But number two is now we're becoming experts at things that used to take 4 or 5, 8-year degrees. Like we can become our own little attorneys, for an example. And
Yeah.
that's a little nerve-wracking because there is some specialty skills, and there's been some stats that have or some things that have been thrown out from ChatGPT that have made up cases that
Yeah.
people have referenced and gone before a jury and a judge and said, well, I'm referring to, Brown versus Smith. And they're like, there is no such case. That's not a real thing.
Yeah, no, that guy got arrested, or that guy got held in contempt, and
Yep.
yeah, that's a
Yeah.
very well-known story.
And this laziness factor and the fact that we all are little experts, it's weird to
Yeah.
me. This is why I like to still do podcasts. I don't think people are going to want to hear two robots talking with one another. I think it's important to have conversations about this stuff. I I see so many benefits, and I can't imagine life without it, but there is a downside risk to all this, and I don't
Oh, yeah.
know, just what's your high level 30,000 I'm sure people have asked you this question, so you've got a good season to answer here that's gonna ease all of our minds, but, go ahead, man. The floor is
I'll do
yours
my
on the
best. I
Yeah,
I think, to be completely honest, I gotta say, like, I definitely don't know where it's all going. I
yeah.
think at some point there's gonna be, you know, a singularity, a red line that we go past, and nobody can predict what's gonna happen then. Um,
Well,
that being said,
let me
yeah,
interrupt real quick because where I think it's going is none of us are gonna leave. We don't ever have to leave our couch. Everything's going to work for us. You know what I mean? Like,
you're talking about the Wall-E scenario.
well, the dog will be walked, the groceries
Yeah,
will be bought, the
the
money will
Disney
be
movie
made.
Wall-E. Yeah.
It's the Wally scenario. So,
Yeah. We
I
wanna
didn't mean
avoid
to
the Wall-E
interrupt.
scenario.
Let's
Yeah.
avoid that. But can it? I love certain answers where people are like, yeah, but it can get you back the fruitfulness things that are super important to you in your
Yeah,
life, like relationships, like being
totally.
with your kids, like petting the dog, the good stuff in life that
The
we
good
all
stuff.
that really fill us up. But sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. But yeah, the Wally sitch.
That's good.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, I talk about this in the book, and there are definitely pitfalls of things that, if done incorrectly, we could end up with authoritarian big brother state, controlling everybody, and perhaps even AI being leveraged in that way. On the flip side, we could have a new kind of techno utopia where everybody, scarcity is gone, everybody can kind of pursue their dreams. But how we get there, is the big challenge, how we figure out where this all goes. I think there's a couple key points when you talk about this idea that everybody could potentially use AI as a crutch, um, and become armchair experts in everything. I think there is value in having subject matter experts, and we should, I think over the coming years, we need to reconfigure the entire educational system to tailor it to that. I think social media has been a really good litmus test for what happens when you get the wrong technology in kids' hands too soon, and
Mhm.
AI can have that exact same effect. So I'm personally advocating, and I have, 3 kids myself. I'm looking at, like, having essentially like a digital quinceañera, or like a digital bar mitzvah level. Like, you do not get access to certain technologies until you are a certain age, because you're just not ready for it developmentally, psychologically, and we want to build that capability in you.
Yeah.
First, we want to have you understand what is rational thought, what is critical thinking, what is social interaction, how does that all work? then you can get the AI tools, then you can get the social media, then you can have that, digital liaison helping you through the rest of your life. But there's got to be a starting point, you know, past a
Yeah.
certain level of maturity, so we can get people the core skills they need to be good humans first. Then they can, look at productivity and gains and all that stuff. So that's kind of my take at at a grand scale of
That's super intelligent. That's a great
how to
I
think
love
about
that.
it.
Yeah.
The other
Yeah.
piece I would say that we're going to run into problems with, Joe, when you talk about, creating your own SaaS or having a machine analyzed by an AI forever. Eventually, if we don't keep those skills sharp with existing people, if that machine breaks or that AI goes down, that knowledge is lost forever and nobody knows how to fix the problem. So I think we need to also create mechanisms to
Mhm.
still train people, to still get them up to speed with how stuff works. And maybe that's learning from the AI itself at some point, but we got to keep those humans in the loop on certain aspects of our society, or we're going to end up in that Wally scenario that we talked about.
That's crazy. I do know that LinkedIn just came out with like their, the most popular jobs in 2026, and
Yeah.
like it's not even close. The top two are both AI, either some sort of a hire, some sort of AI consulting group like yourself, or AI teams. Those are the most popular jobs in 26, and it didn't take long for that to happen. Those weren't even on the
Huh.
list 2 years ago. LinkedIn just came out with that list. I might be ruining the name of it, but they're both AI
No,
jobs,
that's
so
good.
you guys can all research it. We're recording this on February 26th, so that list I think came out today. But yeah, so yeah, there's some scary things, but I think if we all have our own, whatever your worldview is, focus on that first, and that will take care of some of the scariness. If you're not scared already about life, because there's a lot of weird stuff going on out there in the world. I mean, and if you don't have that foundation, you might not have it anyways. Whether AI is here or not is kind of my point.
What's in your sphere of control, right?
Yeah, right.
And again, that's the one last mention of the book is that at the end of each chapter, I ask a series of questions to say like, hey, I just gave you a bunch of information and maybe I'm right, maybe I'm wrong, but how do you think? How do you feel about that? What are you going to do based on that information
Hmm.
so that it can, I don't think Mark Zuckerberg or Elon Musk gets to decide, where humanity goes from here. I think we all play a part in this conversation. So the best thing you can do is educate yourself. Maybe you're never going to use AI. Maybe you want to be a nurse and you just want to, help people. Maybe you're going to be a farmer somewhere in the middle of Australia. That's great. Um, but knowing like what your role is and how other people are going to be impacted by this, I think you gotta educate yourself first.
Yeah, that's a great answer, man. I love it. Before we let you go, tell everybody the name of the book, how they get in touch with you, and then we'll promote the farm shows or the farm conference.
Awesome.
So go ahead.
Yeah. The name of the book is Turning on Machines. If you go to turningonmachines.com or zacengler.com, just my name spelled out, you can learn more about the book. You can read my first blog from 2016 talking about AI and
Oh,
where things
cool.
are going. So, yeah, I've been in it for a while. If you're interested in consulting with us, our company is c4techservices.com. You can check out the other consulting that we do as well as staffing. And then, yeah, for the FEMA conference, I'll be there giving a keynote workshop. We're going to do a 1 hour talk just to get everybody educated and up to speed with where AI is going in manufacturing and farm equipment. And then there's going to be a half-hour workshop where you can actually crack open your laptop and we'll work on some stuff together as well.
That's really cool. Yeah, that's San Antonio, March 24th through the 26th. Zach will be there. I will be there. It'll be nice. It'll be good to meet you in person, for
Yeah,
sure. So yeah, man, I can't thank you enough for doing this. This is super interesting to me, and it's crazy to see where it's all going. And I'm glad there's people like you that are staying on top of it, so we can have some real experts to look to. And um, yeah, I appreciate that. So thank you very much.
absolutely, Joe. Thanks for having me on. And I look forward to connecting in San Antonio.
All right, man. Well, appreciate it. See you there. Thanks everybody for joining us today for another episode. We appreciate it. Once again, like, subscribe. I don't care if you like, uh, um, Spotify, Apple, YouTube, all the things. So thanks for joining us again. Have a good one. Zach, appreciate you, man.
Awesome. Thanks.
Reach driven leaders with the Germinate podcast. Sponsor our show to align your brand with actionable insights and purposeful growth. Contact us today at embosales.com/podcast. That's www.embosales.com/podcast to partner and inspire our growing audience of professionals. Hey folks, thanks for tuning into the Germinate podcast. If you found value in today's episode, be sure to subscribe, leave a review, and share it with others in the industry. And join me next time as we continue to explore the innovations and strategies shaping the future of agriculture and business. Until then, keep growing, keep innovating, and keep germinating your success.